but I kind of like hijacked it and said I would co-host this one.
No, yeah. So you know what? You introduce him then. Yeah.
All right. Well, introducing a Georgia agent and assistant broker that's crushing it in property management with over 100 units that he manages and creatively works with investors to make deals successful, specifically by converting homes into duplexes right now and rent by the room setups. This is Behringer. He is like I said, in Atlanta, Georgia, that kind of region. So I will let him say a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Sarah. I am Behringer Greer. I work with One Source Real Estate, brokered by Matt Nicklin. We are pretty much one-stop shop for all sorts of investors, big or small, brand new or very experienced. We act primarily as investor agents, helping you source a deal, walking you through the entire process from getting rehab estimates, contractor set up, and then after the deal is closed, leasing out for you and managing it for you from there.
Welcome, Berenger. And I'm still here, but Sierra wanted to invite a special guest on today. So we're going to talk with Berenger about his market, his experience in real estate. And he just wanted to get on here and also promote himself and talk about what he's doing. So welcome, Berenger.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Mark.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so oh sorry,
no,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so you kind of hit on that like investors are your primary like client. Is that mostly who you serve?
We do primarily serve investors, though I do think as just a regular old real estate agent, when it comes from a listing perspective or a primary buyer perspective, we are a little bit better equipped. But I'd say 90% of my sales over the past 2 or so years have been investors.
So then, okay, because it's very hard, I think, to find. I don't know if Mark would attest to this, but I think it's very hard to find a good investor agent. So, in your opinion, like what would people need to ask, or like what could I look for if I'm looking for an agent to work with specifically in another state, like not someone local with me, um, that would be a great investor agent.
If I were to try to invest out of state, I think the first couple of questions I'd be asking the agent is pretty much what his experience is with investing. I don't own any of my own investments, but I do have the property management company. So I have a lot of hands-on experience. I've done it a lot of times for a lot of people, all return customers. Everyone's happy. Then really just working with them. That is one other thing to know. I wouldn't sign any exclusive buyer engagement deals. I will be working with a couple investor agents at a time, seeing which ones can bring me proper deals with proper comps. But yeah, just make sure that their accuracy is there. What they're saying is leading up. When you get the comps, make sure you check them out yourself. I've seen a lot of owners when I started doing property management come to me with deals that their agent told them would lease out for $300 more per month and cost 10K less in rehab cost. And I was the guy who had to break the unfortunate news to them. So that's pretty much what I'd be biggest on. Use kind of the first month or two as an interview period, just see the quality of deals they are bringing you, and then testing it out to see if these deals are working by looking up comps on your own.
My question, and I hear it all the time too, is a lot of real estate agents, and you kind of touched on it that you don't have any investments yourself. But why do so many agents not start like an investment portfolio?
I don't know. To tell you for my own personal life, it was just bad timing. I worked a job for about a year and a half in property management. Should have bought a house then, wasn't really on my radar because I thought I had to do more to get into investments when I realized that back in 2019 was probably the ideal time for me to buy when I was able to. Then I started the 1099, working with One Source Real Estate, and I wasn't able to get a house for the first 2 years because of the loan. No family would co-sign for me. Didn't really come from prosperous backgrounds, and it just wasn't ever the right time. And then when I was finally approved to be able to get a loan, interest rates shot up, and I should have bought something then. But then I was thinking, like, I'm the investor's agent, and if anyone's gonna find a great deal for me, it's gonna be me, and I'm gonna take it a little bit more seriously. And now I think about it, there were like probably 2 or 3 times I could have jumped on and still been all right. But at this point, it's just still kind of a doom and gloom. So to the reason of other agents not buying investments, I'm just not sure. A lot of people think investments are a little bit more complicated than they really are, or just maybe they're tired of houses. But I do think it'll be a good idea as a real estate professional with that firsthand experience to jump into it when you're able to. At least house hacking. I mean, that's a pretty
Yeah.
risk-free way of doing it. Well, not risk-free, but it definitely minimizes risk. Why do you think more agents don't build up a portfolio?
Well, I think, you know, there was such great money in just doing sales. And I think that's why a lot of agents, like, and you kind of touched on it, right? You're trying to find certain properties and they're great deals. You're bringing it to your clients that you have this kind of responsibility to bring these opportunities to your clients that you work with, and you want to make them happy and bring them these great deals. So a lot of times, whatever's left over, is kind of maybe deals that are maybe so or iffy, and all the great opportunities you're bringing to your clients. So like you were touching on that, you have, you're managing a lot of properties. And I talked to another agent property manager in the Pennsylvania market where I invest, and he kind of touched on that. He said he started off in sales, he started branching off to property management to kind of generate monthly income, and then he started realizing, like, I owe it to my clients to bring them these great deals first, because that's my responsibility as an agent. And then, so whatever was left over was kind of deals where he was like, I'm not going to even hop on these opportunities because they're kind of maybe barely profitable.
Hmm. That is also fair. Because it's like if I see a good deal, a lot of the times if it's like a flip, I can work it into where I get 3% of the final of the buy as well as the final price. Some flippers would even give me up to 10% of what they sell it for sourcing the deal. And yeah, just also a very busy schedule between property management and doing real estate. Now, a lot of times I just forget about it. A lot of times the first place my mind goes when I get a good deal is like, oh, this buyer is gonna love that. Let's go get it over.
Mhm. Well, that makes you great at what you do. But then, yeah, you have to like try to capitalize on the opportunity for yourself at some point too. Um, Especially when you already have like the property management side, kind of like I feel like that's what scares a lot of, I don't know about agents specifically, but just a lot of people away from investing is the fear around like what's it going to take to manage the property, and like what happens if there's maintenance issues, and what happens if like there's things that come up and they just don't want to deal with that.
Mhm.
So like you already have like such an awareness around like what it takes to manage a property, that like that I feel like one of those top fears is like not even there for you at this point.
That is true. That is. So hopefully one day, I'm thinking I do have a pretty big network of buyers. So if I see something really good, I just don't have the cash for. I think there are a few people I can call up so everyone can end up sharing in the success.
Yeah, like a shared equity deal or something like that.
I haven't thought of the technicals, but I think it can happen.
So, how did you build up the property management side of your business?
So I do share the properties with Matt Nicklin and then another property manager, Janiyah Ford. But property management marketing is different from other things because you're going to have to find real estate investors. And from what I found, a lot of the successful real estate investors are doing it all on their own. So you're going to have to find either agents who have out of state investors who are doing the same thing I do that want to share their clients with me, which I found a lot of times you're like, oh, well, are they going to end up just working with you? So don't really know how to do that. But other than that, from working with a lot of investor buyers, converting them into property management customers, then just doing a bunch of eviction leads. I will call the Cobb County and Cherokee County eviction leads pretty much every single day of my life. Just find landlords who are accidental landlords who started doing it because they know it's a great investment and didn't really realize all the work that's going to go into finding and vetting good tenants. So it's just really like any other job. We're just calling as many leads as we can, trying to get as many contracts signed as possible. But yeah, mostly from eviction leads and working with investor clients that then convert their sales into management for us.
So when you
I
first got
Go ahead.
into real estate, did you was your vision being more property management, or was it more the sales side initially?
100%. I first got into real estate just from listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast when I was like 22, didn't go to school, was serving food. I was like, I really want to invest in real estate, but I have no money and I have no career. So I knew a property manager whose daughter worked at the same place I did. So I begged the daughter for a job. They put me in property management and it answered both questions. I started making more money and I got a career. So it was just a good age, 22, to be able to find a career. And I was like, I need experience in real estate somehow. And this is a way that's going to pay me a W-2 and give me the experience I need. But yes, always want to do property management above sales because the monthly income is truly great, especially for real estate agents where it's so cyclical. I don't want to have to rely on my next sale all the time and budget like that. So my fiance and I have it worked out to where it's just every month I get my property management check, and that's pretty much our spending money for rent and everything. So that's what leads me to do property management more. That, and as well as a passion for the people.
Do other agents think you're crazy? Because I got my real estate license, and same thing. My vision was doing more property management, but all the other realtors are just like, "Oh, you don't want to go into property management. Like nobody wants to do that." And like you, I was like, I want this steady, somewhat steady income monthly, and not cyclical. And
Mhm.
that was my mindset. But all the other agents were just like, "Oh, you're crazy for doing that."
I think people don't truly understand. I think they heard a bunch of horror stories from other landlords who never actually trained to be a property manager. Everyone's just training on getting the house and making as much money as they can off of it. But I'm trained to be a property manager, serve things the best, get costs the lowest, and nip tenants in the bud as soon as things happen with high expectations. So personally, I think a lot of people don't understand the reality of property management. And they had a bad experience, heard about a buddy who had a bad experience because they weren't experienced enough, ended up swearing it off forever.
That's a great point. I one of my consulting clients is a real estate agent here, and she's like, I'll take property management all day. And I'm like, I don't usually hear agents say that, like, but she loves it. So I think you're right. Like you have to want to do it, and then you have to want to, get the experience to be successful at it. You can't just like get in on a transaction and then get out. Like that's kind of the great part, about just, I guess, selling houses is that you're just like in the midst of it for temporary, and then it's not like a long-term commitment, and you can get cash flow from that. But yeah, she says she loves property management. And I heard you say like passion for the people. So like tell me a little bit about like really what excites you in when you're working like in the world of real estate.
Yeah, passion for the people, being the tenants. Landlords have such a bad stigma in this country. I'm sure every other country, I haven't really been around too much, but they have such a bad stigma. They don't care about the tenants. They lack some very critical communication. So I've always wanted to help people. If it weren't for real estate, I'd probably be doing something nonprofit. And I was just talking to some friends one day, and we were like, "Hey, it sounds like one of the best way to serve people is by being able to serve them in their homes and make sure that they have a great living experience where a lot of that anxiety you deal with from the workday is able to shed off just fine, and you don't have to come home to more disasters, bad landlords, appliances that don't work and such." So that also definitely got me into it. Then just really wanting to see people succeed. And from being a property manager, I was able to see a lot of people making bad decisions on the investments they were buying, and then being able to fix it up for them to the best of my ability, and see them go off being successful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Have you ever helped any of the tenants like maybe get into a position to buy their own home down the road? Like, you
Yeah,
spoke with, oh, that's awesome. I like that.
that's also why property management and being a real estate agent is good. So I have the landlords buying more properties from me, and then when I get well qualified tenants, I make sure to remind them pretty much every month in the newsletter, like, "Hey, we are real estate agents too. Here's our credit reparation program. Have a phone call with us. I'll tell you what you're going to need to be able to get a loan." A lot of people don't realize you need 3 lines of credit history for, I think, a year or two. I think it's a year, but don't quote me on that. But a lot of them don't realize that. So I do really try to hold their hand step by step, every process of the way, being my tenant, to when they are finally able to buy a house, I'm able to help them out with that, able to make sure their lease is going to be up when we do close on the house, able to pull some strings with the owner since I have a good relationship with them. Like, hey, their deal's not closing for a month after the lease. Can they just stay 1 month longer? I'll get it leased out for you right after that. It's a pretty good situation.
You sound like you're a pro at just customer service. Or I mean, it's amazing. Like it's hard to develop that skill. So is that like natural for you, or did you really work to be able to navigate like so many different facets of just people in general?
Well, my family, all pretty much pretty much everyone in my immediate family is a salesman. So
Oh, okay.
dad grew up doing it. My granddad grew up doing it. They have the gift of the gab, which really I don't. I'm kind of awkward. I can say some dumb things to people, so I don't rely on that. I just rely on making sure I'm able to show them I do value their experience and making sure they are taken care of. If I can't dazzle them with a bunch of BS, then I'm just going to be as authentic as possible and try to help them out as much as I can. And I found that works out very well too.
That's awesome. I'm more of a dazzler, I think. But
Those
I
things
would,
also
yeah,
go
I don't
together.
have any experience with sales, so or not really. I mean, I sold, like I sold merch, but online only, and you didn't have to have a conversation with me to buy it. So
Well, Sierra, this is all sales. What you're doing right now is sales. Just because you're not sitting there calling them, trying to get them to sell you your house on some cold call doesn't mean you're not a salesman. I mean, you're selling yourself, selling your image. Everything you're doing is definitely like a salesman.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this because I was confused. I thought you folks connected at FinCon, but you guys actually connected way before this.
Yeah, with the RuneScape, buying RuneScape
Mhm.
merch online.
Yeah, my RuneScape business, which really was a merchandise business, but then I fell into this like RuneScape niche accidentally. I've never even played the game. Um
You never
and
RuneScape?
I know. It really, and I try not to tell people that because I'm like, they don't want to buy from me if they know that I'm not even like in the in the realm of that.
I don't
Yeah,
even know
no,
what you're
I
talking about. What is that?
Merch
it's
is
like
great.
a nostalgic video game.
Oh, okay.
Well, that is so funny though, Sierra, because when I started real estate, my friends were like, "You don't even own a house. How are you going to sell a house?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I can sell a house." And I mean, you literally, when I saw you, I was like, "Wow, this is the best custom RuneScape merch I've ever seen." And to find out you've never even played the game, it's just
Thank
fit.
you. Yeah, and that's I mean that just comes to like listening to what people want and trying to and I really did immerse myself in the community. Like I tried to be a part of the community still even though I wasn't like actively playing. And so what you're saying about sales like that's that's kind of like the brand image that I try to have of myself is that I am super genuine about like helping people get what they want and if what they want is a shirt that has some sort of like RuneScape image on it that looks more or less like a nerdy video game shirt and more like a tourist destination shirt, then I'm like, okay, I can make that, like that was kind of the mindset behind it. And so yeah, like I still have like my little board of like RuneScape pins and stuff, like, and I never played the game but I bought from other creators and I made sure to like be a part of the community too. So yeah, just being genuine about caring for people is a big thing for me. And so that's I'm happy to um pivot in whatever way I need to kind of meet people where they're at.
If I may go back to the first question y'all were asking on how to find a good investment agent, I will say one of the big perks for me, and I just remembered this, is I do property management as well. So when I close on a deal, I have to immediately put my money where my mouth is with the rehab cost, as well as renting for what it says it is. Sorry if that was out of place. It just came to me and I was like, okay, that is pretty important.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great tip. And I feel like a lot of people, especially newbie investors, like don't know what to look for. And I think that they get into a lot of situations where their deal isn't panning out as good because they didn't have the right agent to work with just from the get-go.
hmm Yeah, sorry for that quick turn. Yeah, caring for people, I definitely think is the hardest sales. You see a lot of sleazy people do very well in sales. I'm not too worried about them. I definitely believe an honest man's conscience or a good man's conscience is his pillow. So just won't be able to live that lifestyle. And it's not always all about money. You're making a fair income. And if you're able to treat people well, be a good member of your society, I think that does weigh a little bit more than money at the end of the day.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm looking up RuneScape right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what this is.
Um, I asked Dion, from Dion Talk one time if he had ever played RuneScape. He said his brother did because he talked
Yeah.
about when he got started, like he was hustling for money by selling stuff in World of Warcraft. And
Mhm.
so I was like connecting with him on that point because that was really where my business finally took off was when I did start kind of getting really specific into like the RuneScape stuff. Um, but yeah, so anyways, it is another like video game that it has a big following, and so it just has a lot of reach.
It's essentially Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh.
Like every hit is a roll. It is chance based off the algorithm, but it's also an MMORPG. So you play Dungeons and Dragons, you have your character, you can get the best gears, best items, 28 different stats to train, and it's just I think 100,000 players on at any given moment on old school. And these 99 skills, I mean, it's why I can't really play too much anymore. You spend probably 10 to 15 hours getting each of the 28 skills to 99. And then you have like 257 quests to do. But I think that's the big appeal because it is very complex. It's very involved. And even though you literally get off work to go work more on a video game, just sucks people in.
And I've had a lot of people who played the game say, that's where they learned a lot of like great strategies that they use in real life about like the stock market and just money in general. And just, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people would always like credit it like their childhood experience with that game to like preparing them better for their future.
I definitely agree. From learning how to flip items, learning how to make a sale and things like that, and definitely helps out. Another big thing that I'm seeing with a lot of the older generation is teaches you how to not get scammed on the internet. Which is really funny. I think pretty much everybody over 35 should go through RuneScape's stronghold of security to learn what a fish and keylogger and things are.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. 35. Now we're getting
Don't quote me.
so so
Well, you just threw some shade at Mark for being a little older.
wait, wait, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Oh man, you little kids.
Hmm.
I am what am I? I am wait, I gotta add this up. I'm 47. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be 48 next year.
Yeah, definitely look a lot younger than good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
don't
man.
get scammed, Mark.
Yeah. But that's why I don't know what RuneScape is. I know what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Hmm. Just Dungeons
Okay.
and Dragons if we're all real world.
So along those lines, because you are younger and you talked about not really coming from an affluent background and your direction into property management was just because you needed a career and you liked caring for people. But like, at what point did you like start developing your like financial literacy to really understand, you know, how to build wealth or how to, just work on financial freedom or whatever it is that you're after?
Yeah, I think my first introduction to that was probably from going to church. They do a lot of, Dave Ramsey work, and it's just something that was never really talked about too much in my house. I mean, my mom always budgeted, and my dad, I don't want to throw too much shade, but he wasn't as much of a budget person. He's like, the money's going to be there when I go back. So just my circle of friends at the time, we were real big on finances and just learning how to save up money, learning how to invest their money in different strategies to do that. Coming from my background of never investing or even having financial success in my family, I didn't know a whole lot. But that's when I went to Matt Nicklin, found him on Bigger Pockets. Turned out he did exactly what I'm doing now, agency with property management, and he lived 10 minutes from my house. So I was like, hey, you're 10 minutes from me. I'm from Woodstock too. I I've been a leasing manager for the past year and a half. I want to stop doing that and come do real estate investment as well as property management. And he was like, okay, I'll take you on. And I was just very serious with him. I was like, look, man, I've read books and stuff. I have an idea. I've never actually done any of this stuff aside from managed properties, which turns out it was one of the biggest things I could have done, but I've never done any of it. And Matt has just been very, very good and patient with me. He's taught me all about taxes, all about safe places to put my money outside of real estate. Pretty much anything under the sun for financial advice, I can go to Matt. And if he doesn't know it, he can send me to someone who does.
So it sounds like the right circle of friends and a good mentor will go a long ways for financial literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you also touched on it a little bit earlier, talking about like credit scores or credit history for your tenants, and that you see that a lot of them don't realize that they need certain amount of trade lines or credit reporting. Is that, like you touched on, kind of what you're also learning, that a lot of people out there, their financial literacy is kind of, well, you guys are a lot younger than me, but my
Mm-hmm.
generation, same things, went to school, but they didn't really teach us a lot about this finance.
I think. What were you saying, Mark? I was just agreeing with you.
No, no, just kind of like how you see a lot of your tenants, maybe like they don't realize, um, what they need to do to get ahead as far as their credit history, even just how to save money, where to put money, and whatnot.
Yeah, so with tenants, it is tough because being professional, I can never go outright and be like, hey, you need help. You know how people are. But when they come to me needing help, I'm definitely happy to see what they got. I mean, I already have their credit report and I know a few things about them. And I mean, if they're happy, actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But, anyways, I already know a little bit about their financial history. They come to me, they are like, yeah, I'm ready to buy a house. And I'll just set them up with in the right path. But financial literacy, I truly believe, is one of the most important things we can teach to everyone in America, young people in America, especially before they get themselves into student loans, and just really make sure they know what that interest rate means, really make sure they know why they need to have a budget, and really just make sure we're able to help them live a life debt free. I mean, it's not that hard if you are able to understand how these things work, live within your means. Maybe it's not the best thing right now. I mean, I live in a 600 square foot apartment building that doesn't, not an apartment, it's the top of a townhome that doesn't even have a dishwasher or full stove, but it's what I do. So in the future, when I do have family, I'm going to be able to have everything provided for them. And I just think if most people understood that there are proper ways to budget to best protect yourself and good things come in time, I think we wouldn't be dealing with certain economic situations that we are now, and there'd be a lot less evictions and lot less hardship on people around the country.
Well, I don't know how much time you have, but we didn't really get to talk a lot about your market. I know that's kind of also why you hopped on here. There was a lot going on with like vacancy rates and whatnot in your market and area. So if you have the time, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're definitely going through a pretty rough spot in real estate investments. Vacancy rate is extremely high. Just right here on the FMLS right now, I'm pulling up vacant rentals. We have 3,813 vacant rentals at the moment. And let me see if I can pull up some stats for the past of that. But just for my own anecdotal evidence, probably I had to lease 11 units over the past 3 months. And the average cost that I released them at was about $150 to $200 down from what I had them leased the year prior to that. And even then, I had to offer moving incentives. I had to offer brokerage cooperating fees and whatnot. So
Wow.
we're definitely going through something a little scary at the moment.
Is this, you think, because of like overbuilding in the area, or is it just economic reasons as far as job losses and whatnot?
I think the biggest thing I can pinpoint it to is probably overbuying by investors. I mean, Blackstone bought up 60% of North Georgia's real estate over the year 2020 and 2021. So there are a lot of rentals on the market right now. And just like anything, supply and demand are king. We have a lot of supply, and especially right now, it's always slow around the holidays. So we have very, very little demand. And quite honest with you, if you're not ready to drop your price or add more renovations, your rental could be sitting for mine are at an average of 45 days right now. And a year ago, it would have been 7 to 10.
Hmm.
So would you say like this is a good time for maybe investors to reach out to you because maybe there's other landlords that are looking to sell or, motivated sellers?
That I have definitely seen a few investors get a little worked up. I have some people looking to list their properties with me soon. Um, So it really just depends on your mindset. Are you able to wait out a year of having to drop rent a little bit, which I absolutely think is necessary for the economy? I mean, we were pricing people out so bad, national debt's at a level I don't think we've ever seen before, just credit card debt. I think it's about every single citizen in America. The average credit card debt is $5,500, and that's including newborns and senior citizens. So there's a lot of debt out there. So I think the rental pullback is a good thing. But with that being said, I think if you can wait it out, it's still just like anything else. Truth be told, I don't even think cash flow is the main thing people should be looking for with their rentals, because cash flow can be gone in a second with one bad tenant. But the appreciation is really what comes into play. And I see that, especially around Atlanta, going to be staying on a steady pace, probably beginning in 2025. But I do believe Atlanta is going to be looking at a price decline of up to probably 10%. Our average days on market are going way up. I think we're at 35 right now, days on market. And just when I look at the market each morning, I'm seeing more price declines than I am new listings. Then even the past few deals I've gotten, it's been an average of about 30K under market price.
Man, that's wild. And so such a drastic change even from the year before, but it really like exemplifies how knowing your specific market and like you're saying, like Atlanta is probably better for an appreciation standpoint than your cash flow because it's fluctuating more. And just like knowing those specifics about your market, how important that is.
And it is growing very quickly. But yeah, sorry, y'all, I don't have all the most up-to-date numbers, but anecdotally, between 132 units and just trying to make these sales every day, I definitely have been seeing something in the water.
So as a from a property management standpoint, you said like how are you dealing with this? Like do you see like I mean you kind of touched on it, like maybe incentives or maybe reducing the or maybe credits, few month credit, but are you seeing where you have to lower maybe the criteria or standards slightly? Because like you talked about like the amount of debt, credit card debt out there, maybe people's credit scores aren't coming in as high and you're having landlords that are kind of maybe stressing out to get their property occupied.
Yeah, so we typically do 650 for most of our rentals, but it is a rental by rental basis, but whatever we do advertise, we have to abide by. So sometimes we do drop to 600, especially in the areas that we're looking at least to where it might not be as affluent. So we will make those exceptions. And then there's always, if we get someone with under the 650, we always offer them well, not always offer them, depending on where they're at. I got to be careful with what I'm saying here because that's why property management is hard. There's a lot of litigation, so you got to be careful about how you advertise these things, or else fair housing is going to come after you. But yeah, we will lower, and then depending on where your credit score is, you can always be presented the opportunity to lease it with a higher security deposit, and things of that nature.
Would you say like the properties that you manage kind of range from like A class, B class, C class, D class all the way down?
Yeah, my most expensive rental lease is for 3,200 a month, and it's in a very affluent part of Georgia. It's Alpharetta, if you've ever heard of that. Alpharetta is just outside of Atlanta. Then probably the cheapest we have goes for something around 1,400. So we definitely do C class to A class. These classes are all very relative to each,
Yeah.
but we definitely stay away from, let's say, for instance, D class neighborhoods, like certain areas of Atlanta where I just know certain things might be present us with more difficulty when it comes to finding a good tenant. Like lower income areas, it can definitely present a lot of issues. So we do try to avoid that, or else you'll find that out of 132 properties, you're working on 3 properties 24/7, and everyone else is just all right.
So from your portfolio that you manage, do you see like from each like A class, B class, is certain area getting hit harder from vacancy, like as far as struggling to find occupancies?
No, I would say probably, if anything, a little bit more expensive, maybe struggling from vacancies more. But what I found is my cheapest rentals, they're still going pretty quick. People always need
Yeah.
something affordable. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, if you make $1 million, if you make no money, it's always in a lot of people's best interest to go with a good budget option.
Well, I love hearing about different markets. I invest in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I live in
Mhm.
Honolulu, Hawaii. But yeah, I love hearing how every market is kind of unique and different.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's a
and Atlanta's not even that far. Like I'm in Tennessee, but Atlanta's not, just a few hours away. And so it's interesting just like the difference between Georgia and Tennessee right now too.
yeah, I think the biggest thing is just our economic growth is kind of, I think we're leading the pack for the country. We're in a lot of the top 5 lists, compared to places like Arizona and Texas. We're still kind of lagging behind, but we are still a little cheaper than those areas too. So it's easier for people to move down here and find work and find something cheaper before we'll keep climbing the ladder to more appreciation.
Well,
Well,
Sierra's look. Oh,
I
no,
do
no,
have
go
to
ahead.
run because I have a booking for with a client. So, but I can just drop off here if you guys want to keep talking,
No,
or I
you
can
can
do.
close it out. You
All
can
right.
send us off.
Well, where can people follow you if they want to connect or if they're interested in working with you, Behringer?
I just began a new Instagram. It is Better Deals by Behringer, or you can find us on biggerpockets.com under agent search in Atlanta, Georgia, and going to Matt Nicklin.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on here. This was like super valuable. I feel like we could probably talk every single week and that you would have like so much um just insight to give.
Well, I appreciate it, y'all. It was my first podcast. Definitely looking to gain a little bit more experience. So if y'all have any helpful feedback for me, definitely let me know. But it truly is a pleasure to be able to meet you and an honor to even be considered to be up here and talking to you.
No, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, both of you. Sierra's always on, and like I said, she's the star of the show, so I love
Oh,
having her on.
whatever. Well, thanks guys. I am going to get off, but I will message you both. Thanks again.
Cool. I
All
really
right,
do.
see you guys.
Good meeting
Bye.
y'all. Bye.